It is the year 2040 and the world is so advanced people only work when they want to. At the National School for Advanced Medicine, Rado was working as a medical student alongside his childhood crush Alyssa. He reveals to her that he's been diagnosed with a life-threatening disease, and in order to cure it he will have to undergo a cold sleep which will essentially freeze him for 5 years. It is then Rado confesses his true feelings for Alyssa and asks her to wait for him, and just moments later he heads to the cold sleep facility along with his siblings, named Maharu and Ryu. In the facility, his doctor assures him that they will keep him nice and healthy during his cold sleep, and Rado is happy that he got the doctor he wanted. Alyssa comes to say goodbye and Rado gives her a necklace, saying that she can give it back when he wakes up. Soon after he's placed in the tank and his siblings come to bid him an emotional farewell. While the tank slowly fills up, Rado is trying to comprehend the fact that the next time he wakes up years will have passed and he's afraid of being left behind. Just before passing out, Alyssa says she will wait for him and he puts his hand against the glass before finally drifting off. The next thing he knows, he wakes up seeing a Walmart version of Alyssa, named Mira Sue, along with a group of nurses who seem thirsty for him. Sue tells him it's 2045 and after a quick checkup the blushing nurse reveals he's fully cured. Sue then asks Rado to come with her and she'll explain everything that happened while he was unconscious along the way. Sue informs Rado that she's his dedicated attendant, there to see to his needs and handle any contact with the outside world. Rado is confused to why he would need such a thing, until Sue explains the tragedy that happened 4 years ago. While he was in the cold sleep, a new type of virus broke out called the MK virus, otherwise known as the male killer virus, and it spread around the world faster than COVID, with the infected dying within 3 days of contracting it. The world has started to collapse as the population has decreased by half.
I am inevitable.
And several technologies, including food production, have been lost as they're too hard to maintain. In disbelief, Rado jumps out of the car and is quickly surrounded by women who can't believe there's a male in front of them. Sue catches up to him and tries to explain the situation once again. 99.9% of males have been wiped out and only a few others remain in a cold sleep. And she reveals to him that he is number 2 of the 5 remaining males left in the entire world. All of a sudden, a woman throws herself at him while screaming, "Oh my god, it's a man." A guard takes care of her and the reality begins setting in. Sue explains that all the unsatisfied women around him would accept to mate if he wanted to, and pleads him to do so at some point for humanity. Later, Rado discovers via an old broadcast that the world is now ran by the International Union Governed by Women, otherwise known as UW. Sue tells him that those who are immune to the MK virus need to have as many children as possible or it's likely mankind will go extinct. Still in shock, he asks if artificial means of conception will work. However, Sue reveals that they have conducted all the possible ways. For some unknown reason, only the natural way of creating a new life works. Unable to process what the hell is going on, he is grateful to be reunited with his sister and sees his brother who is undergoing a cold sleep like he did. He also learns that Alyssa has been missing for a long time. Upset by all the revelations, Sue tries to develop plot with him, but Rado refuses because he can't stop simping for Alyssa. Upon witnessing Sue fail her mission, Naniko asks her if she wants to have number 1 seat instead, but Sue says that he smells like a RuneScape convention, so she could never do it with him. The following day, Rado is offered more plots to develop, but being the sworn simp he is, he continues to refuse them all. Sue stops trying to force things on Rado, but she makes him understand that he has a responsibility to do in the world. She then shows him all the certified women she can have sent to his room. But after realizing the gravity of the situation, Rado asks her to give him just 1 month to find someone, his childhood crush who he's been drooling over ever since he can remember. Even though he's been granted 1 month to find Alyssa, Sue will still send girls to his room every night anyway. If he's so sure about saving himself for Alyssa, their advances will surely fail. Meanwhile, number 1, whose name is Hino, is having the best time of his life. Before long, Naniko arrives for him to do his work, and to his surprise, he can even choose the actress he was literally just drooling over on TV. That said, Hino did not waste any time and got to saving humanity. Elsewhere, Rado, Maharu, and Sue are enjoying their meal. When Rado asks her why she's eating a lot, Sue tells him that it's because he starved her last night. She also informs him that there will be more people who will join them to secure his welfare. Soon after, Hino meets Rado for the first time and he tells Rado to just enjoy this new life to the fullest, thinking he must be stupid for not taking this miracle opportunity they've been blessed with. When Rado takes a shower to relax and take everything in, the girl Sue said she would send arrives and creeps up on Rado. She tries her very best to wear him down and she was almost successful, but being the stubborn little white knight he is, Rado couldn't accept with Alyssa still in mind. When Rado woke up he saw Akane passed out on the couch before noticing a little green-haired woman tucked underneath his blanket. She introduces herself as Sui and moments later, Rado along with his attendants proceed with today's schedule until a grizzly bear breaks into the facility. Luckily, Sui saves the day as she became possessed by Ronda Rousey and isekai'd the bear with a single leg kick. After that, Sue takes Rado to Alyssa's lab where he learns that she was researching to find a cure for the MK virus. Rado reminisced about his childhood moments with Alyssa, like when she vowed to become a great doctor to find a cure for her dog's illness. That said, Rado decided to help find the cure for the MK virus himself. Moments later, a worldwide live broadcast was made for Rado to declare his mission to find a cure for the MK virus while offering words of encouragement to the public. Elsewhere, a disguised Alyssa watches the live broadcast. On the other hand, Maharu tells her brother how reckless it was to do the live broadcast, as attracting attention from the whole world brings danger. Not long after, Alyssa reveals that the MK virus was not natural but a man-made one, according to her findings. Later on, Rado reunites with Sue, who's enjoying her pie, and later apologizes to her for being stuck with a beta male loser like him. At that moment, Sue realizes how kind-hearted Rado is, despite being unreasonable with his seed. Meanwhile, the heads of the facility start saying shady things about number 2, as it turns out they didn't like his declaration speech of finding a cure. On the other hand, they praise how number 1 is doing a great job by developing many plots, but due to the buildup of frustration with number 2 and his attendant, they agree to awaken number 3 to make up for number 2's shortcomings. One of the leaders tells a young lady named Karen to prepare herself because her mission is about to begin, as number 3 will be awakened soon. Upon hearing this, Karen excitedly tells her the life of the luckiest boy on Earth is about to begin. Back in the year 2040, number 3 was just a typical nobody high schooler who was working as a Discord mod for free. However, just like any movie on Netflix, nerdy students like Shota are bullied in school. The girls were repulsed by him and he would be humiliated almost every single day. And as unfortunate as it seems, nobody dared to help him from his bullies. Despite being a sweaty Discord mod, Shota is great at the piano, which is why his music teacher has a very soft spot for him, or two. When he went to the hospital to get a checkup, he was fatefully diagnosed with the same disease as Rado and Hino, so he also underwent a cold sleep, resulting in him being number 3. When he attended school for the last time, none of his classmates cared that he had a life-threatening disease. After school, one of his bullies came out of the bushes with a girl and knocked him to the floor. The bully said, "I heard you were going to the hospital. Sorry, you'll die a virgin." They even spit on him, making him rage inside because he can't do anything back. At home, he curled up on his bed and wished for a better world, but to add more fuel to the fire. When it is time for him to undergo his cold sleep, none of his family came to bid him farewell. Just before losing consciousness, he says, "I hope the world can be a little kinder when I wake up." Back to the present, Shota is finally awakened and Karen gives him a warm welcome, introducing herself while simultaneously freaking him out. Karen informs Shota that his father is also safe, but he is currently in deep sleep. When Shota asks about his mom and sister in America, Karen tells him that the scope of information she can gather is limited to Japan only. Unlike Rado, Shota is more relaxed after finding out everything that happened while he was gone, probably because he was always a victim.
You're a victim!
Karen introduces him to the class, and while sitting down, he dwells on the fact that the entire male population is pretty much gone. But soon he will realize this is the best thing that could have happened for a helpless beta like him. After their morning class, he goes to meet his music teacher, who is over the moon to see him. She doesn't waste any time and asks if he's free tonight. During PE class, Karen informs Shota on the best choices for him, starting with Hiragi Shunka, who is toned and petite. The next one is Natsu-chan. She comes from a loaded family and has a massive heart. And last but not least is Akira, the volleyball player, who's got some volleyballs of her own.
What do you mean by that?
When night arrived, Shota went to his music teacher's room, and upon entering he saw Ms. Yuzuki, who was in her nighttime fineries. Before long, she starts developing a plot with Shota that he cannot resist. The next morning, Natsu-chan starts making her move on Shota by asking him about his favorite music. Shota is enjoying Natsu-chan's riz when Shunka butts in their conversation, annoying her thirsty classmate. Upon her spot being taken, Natsu-chan pinches Shota and leaves. Later that day, Shota visits the volleyball team where he sees a tiny woman called Chifuyu. Upon watching them play, Akira spikes the ball so hard that it hits Chifuyu's face. Unfortunately, the impact was so strong that ball-kun flew all the way to Isekai Shota but failed. After seeing what she has done, Akira profusely apologizes to Shota. He eventually goes to the nurse's office like the little wimp he is and later gets his swollen forehead kissed by Yuzuki, who claims that her kiss has healing powers. After she asks Shota if the character development they did upsets him, he tells Yuzuki that he is a man of culture and he's happy he developed plot with her. Yuzuki became so happy upon hearing this she started developing another plot. Meanwhile, one of the leaders asks Karen about Shota's progress, to which she relays that he's getting along nicely. On a beautiful morning, Shota wakes up in Yuzuki's room. She prepares breakfast for him and the little rat watches. He can't believe how life has turned out. One minute he was a repulsive Discord mod. Now he is the only male in the world, as far as he knows. As the day continues, Karen takes Shota to the school swimming pool. Karen tells him that since he woke up from a cold sleep, he needs to have good exercise. The class proceeded with their warm-up exercise, where he had an eye-to-eye moment with Shunka. Soon after, when he is done swimming, he talks to Chifuyu, who is acting almighty as expected. Akira then arrives to apologize for what happened earlier, but Chifuyu embarrasses her in front of Shota. Suddenly, Natsu-chan's speed in the swimming race is announced, which impresses Shota, making Akira jealous. When night arrives, Yuzuki informs Shota that she has some work to do, so they cannot continue their 2-week streak of developing plots. All of a sudden, Shota hears a knock at his door and is surprised to see Natsu-chan standing there. Karen informs him that he has to share the room with her for a week, and after it will be a different girl. The next morning, Natsu-chan begins her advances by forgetting how to wear her own plot armor. Later at the school cafeteria, Natsu-chan didn't talk to Shota, which surprisingly bothered him a lot. Instead, Shunka took the opportunity to make a move. The following evening, Shota's music teacher can't make it again, so he has to stay with Natsu-chan for another night. It didn't take long for the two of them to share a bed, and Natsu explains how her future husband and father died to the MK virus. But even so, ever since she laid eyes on Shota, she knew she loved him. After hearing that, Shota can no longer resist her kindness and develops a plot with her. The next day, we see Reito is featured on the news regarding his mission, and as expected, women of all ages admire him. His fans even wait for him outside the facility. That said, Sue offers Reito more choices, but he immediately refuses and asks where his sister is. Sue then reveals that his sister often stays in the refugee area. Elsewhere, Shota wakes up with Natsu-chan and they drink water like completely normal people. Meanwhile, Hino meets with Reito to show him that he will become a father soon. Reito tells him that he cannot imagine being a father, but Hino encourages him to stop being a simp and do it. If not for himself, for humanity. On the other hand, Shota apologizes to his teacher for what happened with him and Natsu-chan. However, his teacher says that it's okay because she knows there isn't enough males to go around. After school, Shota confronts Karen about the truth regarding the MK virus and his role in that school. It turns out that he is intelligent enough to figure out that everything happening in his school is just a show, and that they purposefully gathered girls they thought he'd like to continue humanity with, which Karen confirms to him. With the reality of the school being revealed to him, all his classmates remove their plot armor in front of him. Meanwhile, the leaders of the facility express their satisfaction with number 3's development. However, they are still upset with number 2 for not fulfilling his role. As Reito's research days at the facility continue, he meets a strange researcher called Maria and a very strict attendant named Katagiri. Moments later, Sue calls Reito because the leaders have an announcement to make. It turns out that Sue will be replaced by Maria and Katagiri. Katagiri tells Reito that it's his fault Sue was forced to leave. She explains that his refusal to develop plot with anyone made Sue fail her mission. She even revealed to him that while she permits him to try and find a cure for the MK virus, she will restrict his freedom if he does not fulfill his other responsibilities. Not long after, Katagiri approaches Sue and begins insulting Reito to her face. But Sue tells her that she is wrong about him because he's a man with dignity and he has a strong value for respecting women. Sue then leaves Katagiri, which irks her a lot. Later on, Reito and his attendants ride a train to Cayman City. Along the way, Maria spills juice on her clothes, so she goes to the bathroom, and Reito waits outside where the two exchange thoughts about the virus. Maria reveals that Cayman City is where the first victim of the MK virus appeared. When they arrive at their destination, Reito's attendants are happy with the place they're staying. However, Katagiri and Maria start getting on each other's nerves. While Reito is enjoying his moment of peace and relaxation in the hot spring, his attendants decide to disturb him and make it even hotter. The following day, they all go to the hospital to meet Taniguchi, a granny who is as grumpy as ever. She refuses to talk about her husband, especially after the doctors treated his body like it was a lab rat. When Rado asks her what he can do for her to cooperate, the old lady tells him to develop a plot with her. However, she immediately takes her words back.
No. Wait.
Maria explains to Rado that her husband was the first MK virus victim, and that same night we see Taniguchi secretly contact Alyssa and tell her that Rado was there. She asks why not meet with him, but we don't get to see her response. The following day, the grumpy old lady realizes that Rado is special because he stayed loyal to Alyssa despite having unlimited options. Although she advises him to stop looking for cures and create children, Rado tells her about his long-lost love Alyssa, which she already knows about. When the night arrives, Sui allows Rado to have a peaceful bath. Psych. Unfortunately for Rado, some girls arrive, prompting him to hide inside the sauna where he meets Chloe, a foreign girl with a big heart who puts Rado's temptations to the test. Moments later, Chloe falls unconscious. However, it's just a show to test Rado for the second time. His attendants get the wrong impression and begin to think that he's started making moves of his own without letting them know. The next day, Taniguchi gets Rado to buy her favorite bread. After that, she requests some private time with Sue and asks her about Rado. After gaining the trust of the grumpy old lady, she decides to give Rado the information he wants. That night, Taniguchi talks to Alyssa and tells her to meet Rado before it's too late. She wants to be with Rado but is determined to find a cure. She explains that even if Rado falls in love with someone else, she will still love him the same way. Not long after, an unknown person poisons Taniguchi, causing her to go into a coma. Rado and his attendants are shocked and devastated to hear the news, but Taniguchi left something behind she wanted Rado to have if something were to ever happen to her. Without wasting any time, Rado and his attendants go to the hospital where Taniguchi's husband was brought to after he was infected, the place where the virus officially started. Rado, along with Sui and Maria, explored the creepy abandoned hospital. While the two were having a serious conversation, Sui interrupts them with her scream. Meanwhile, Hino continues to develop plots with more and more women he's drooled over in his life. Elsewhere, Katagiri is confronted by Akane because she suspects her of poisoning Taniguchi. While Rado and his attendants are on the train back to the facility, they come across the school where Maria's sister studies. Meanwhile, Hino takes a ride outside because he wants to get a girl from the refugee place, and none other than Maharu catches his eye. Rado's sister. Hino tells Naniko that he wants to develop some plots with her. At the train station restroom, Rado found a hidden document in Taniguchi's photo which contains a file on how to make the MK virus. He remembers how Alyssa said the virus was most likely man-made, and now with this information he can learn about the virus and make a cure. With all the facts gathered, Rado finds it hard to know who he can trust among his attendants. Later, Rado learns from Maria that the government gave her a tiny budget to research the MK virus with, and this is because they want her to focus more on food production. Their conversation is interrupted when Katagiri and Naniko arrive to inform Rado that Hino wants Maharu to be his mate. Maharu refuses, so they ask Rado to have a word with Hino personally. Hino refuses to give up and tells Rado to at least set them up on a date, to which he reluctantly agrees. Soon after, the leaders start talking about fights happening in the refugee area, and Katagiri suggested using number 2 for help. Not long after, Akane and Maria talk to Rado in the shower. They explain that this is the only way to avoid suspicions when talking about the MK virus. Akane knows he has some classified information about it, and warns Rado of the danger that his pursuit entails. Katagiri suddenly arrives, and they all act like they weren't doing anything but developing plots. Katagiri approaches Sue again to confess her love, but Sue tells her that she doesn't want a girlfriend making her leave. The next day, Akane manages to create a hidden base in the refugee area where Rado is tasked to distribute the food rations. When an assassin is about to isekai Rado, Katagiri's sister arrives to stop him. The next day, Hino is having a date with Maharu along with Rado in the facility. Despite Hino's effort to riz her up, Maharu is not interested at all. Back in the refugee area, Rado and Maria discreetly continue their deeper study of the MK virus when Akane arrives with her zombie mask to scare Sui. Maria then finds a piece of damning information about her colleagues and many other capable professionals with relevant knowledge and skills to find a cure. It turns out that all of them had gone missing at the same abandoned hospital where the first infected victim was taken. Back at the school dorm, Natsu-chan wants to make the most out of her last day with Shota but fails because he's not in the mood. When Shota thought of escaping, Karen was there to confront him. The following day, the high school girls decide to have a draw to determine who among them would develop a plot with Shota. The girl who won the quick draw, called Erica, is happy she won, but unfortunately her presence reminded Shota of his bullies 5 years ago, so he ended up hiding from her. Shunka follows him and they end up talking about how they were both bullied before all of this happened. And the two nerds develop a plot since they share a connection. Shota continued to reject Erica, who is jealous he chose Shunka, so he leaves them to argue in his room. When Shota starts missing his music teacher, he crosses paths with Akira, who comforts him. The next day, Shota sees Akira inside the gymnasium and she invites him to go in the stock room with her, where she starts working on Shota's character development. Little did they know that Natsu-chan was just outside. The next day, Karen wants him to kiss Erica, but he just fell to his knees, causing him to get bruises on his palm. He was then sent to the clinic to get checked, and after the nurse is all done, 3 of his classmates arrive to make him feel better. Karen meets with a transfer student called Hoshino and remarks how Shota is handling things like a king. We then see Shota have a moment with Chifuyu, who confessed her interest in him. However, when she makes her advances, he turns them down. Not long after, Karen informs Shota that his teacher has left the city, which upsets him greatly as he didn't even get to say goodbye. The next morning, Karen prompts him to develop more plots, making Shota unleash his true Discord mod personality. When the next day arrives, Karen calls the attention of everyone to introduce Hoshino as their new classmate, which is a shock to Shota. Hoshino was one of Shota's former classmates, and she was one of the people who didn't care and turned a blind eye to his bullying. Understandably, Shota holds a grudge toward her, so when Hoshino asks for his help, he realizes he can just toy with her. Not even her classmates treat Hoshino in a good way, refusing to acknowledge her as their classmate because of her age, which upsets her. Meanwhile, Karen lets Hoshino attend their class, which is questioned by Shota, but Karen explains that Hoshino is only doing it because she wants to be a part of the UW. Shota sees her desperation, so he plays along. The next day, Shota embarrasses Hoshino in front of all their classmates for how she treated him 5 years ago. Elsewhere, Rado wants to go back to the hospital to find an answer for their problem. Meanwhile, Karen asks about number 2 and the leader tells him that he still refuses to do his duty. They talk about the possibility of them knowing something that they don't. That said, Karen asks the leader if they are still safe where they are. The next few days and nights, Shota continues to enjoy his school life, making Karen very happy. On the other hand, Rado along with his attendants return to the hospital the next morning. Some new foreign people arrive in Japan and Chloe seems to be their spy and leader. Their arrival alerts the leaders because they don't have much information about them, and enemies pose a great threat to their plans. The next day, Shota approaches the only girl in class that he has not developed a plot with yet. He invites her to his room, but she says that she can't make it because she's stuck at a red light.
You don't find that suspicious? You don't find that suspicious?
And this makes Karen become weary of her. When night arrives, one of the leaders asks Karen if everything is going well on her end, which she confirms it is. After, Shota's classmate who turned him down is called by Alyssa. She asks the girl if Shota accepted rejection and she says he did. The next night, Rado and his attendants explore the old abandoned hospital. Suddenly, Akane asks Rado about his feelings towards Sue, which makes her blush instantly. When Akane scares Sui with ghost fantasies, she accidentally destroys a thin wall. They decide to move forward and Rado notices that the vent is big enough to fit a person's body. Meanwhile, Sue observes from the facility's window, looking extremely sad for an unknown reason. Not long after, the foreign unit under Chloe's command arrive and the leaders greet them. Meanwhile, Maria and Rado enter the ventilation and make their way through when all of a sudden they see one of the leaders of the UW and her people below. But their weight was too much for the vent to handle, so it collapsed. Upon seeing them, one of the leaders gets mad and orders them to be sprayed with bullets. But to their surprise, she wasn't talking about them, as we see some enemies drop to the floor behind them. Chloe appears and introduces herself as the one in charge of the Department of Peacekeeping Operations of the UW World Headquarters. Chloe receives information about bombs being planted in the area, so they immediately evacuate the facility. Just when they've successfully escaped the area, the bombs start exploding one after another. The following morning, we see Shota playing some Discord mod fantasy games with his classmates. When night arrives, Karen has to handle the mad Hoshino when they hear an explosion. On the other hand, Chloe begins interrogating Rado as if he is the only male alive and draws her conclusion about what is happening. At the facility, the leaders have shown their true colors, and they even find out that one of them is a traitor, and an arrest is made for the manufacturing of the MK virus. With Chloe's information, many suspicious things began to unravel. She even informs Rado about Alyssa, who is currently with a group who opposes the UW's tyrannical rule. Upon hearing this, Rado begins wondering what truly happened to Alyssa. Elsewhere, Shota comes back to his room when all of a sudden a bomb explodes. Shota wakes up from a dream about his music teacher Yuzuki, and as expected, Karen is there to apologize for what happened. She further explains that the explosion was caused by a terrorist group that is against the UW, when suddenly the door opens because Shota's harem were extremely worried about him. Later that evening, Karen tells him that there is a spy in the school. She further informs him that he is not the only male survivor, as there are 4 others who survived just like him, which triggers his anxieties from the bullying he experienced from other guys. Karen tells him that she plans to bring him to Tokyo with her so he can stay in the UW headquarters. When Shota asks Karen what her true intention is, she reveals that she wants to be the most powerful person in the world, inspiring Shota to feel the same way. Alyssa's accomplice informs her that the security has become tighter, so she has to leave Cayman City as soon as possible. On the other hand, Alyssa and the rest of her group awaken number 4 just moments later, and at that moment one of the leaders orders them to gather all the numbers at the main headquarters. Chloe tells Rado and his attendants that Alyssa's group are the ones who took number 4. Katagiri and Chloe then had an intense argument when the topic of tyranny was brought up. However, Chloe's argument made more sense, making Katagiri realize she was wrong. When Rado asks Chloe about Alyssa, she shows him the photo of her in which she seems to be one of their leaders. That said, there is also a traitor among Alyssa's group. After processing all of this, Rado asks Chloe what the plan is. Chloe tells him that they have to deal with number 1 because of his proclivities, but Rado tries to explain that despite Hino's flaws, he's really an okay guy. However, Chloe tells him that he need not to worry because he will be kept safe. Soon after, Chloe talks to their unknown leader to confirm that they have all the numbers except number 4. Chloe confirms that the plans they have for numbers 1 and 2 have been stopped, and moreover they know where number 3 is. Also, number 5 is still in a cold sleep hidden in a local facility. The unknown leader reminds Chloe to be very careful when dealing with the numbers. Chloe then starts acting suspicious, as it seems like they are planning something on their own. Meanwhile, Rado still wonders why Alyssa ended up becoming one of the supposedly bad guys. All of a sudden, Akane arrives wanting to talk to him in private, so they go inside the bathroom to talk. On the other hand, Chloe begins her plans with number 1, and she immediately removes all the girls that could possibly mate with him. Meanwhile, Akane explains to Rado that while she hates her mother, she is actually an honest and hardworking person, so she is sure that she is not the one who manufactured the MK virus. Moments later, Alyssa's group hacked the broadcasting system. Alyssa then reveals all the lies behind UW as she shows number 4 to all the viewers worldwide, a man called Zen. Alyssa further reveals that the true intention of UW is to eradicate all men to create a new era of an all-women world. Rado immediately confronts Chloe on this information, but she manages to dodge the questions. After this, Chloe is contacted by the unknown leaders, who remind her again to be careful when dealing with Rado. After receiving some information from her mother, Akane suggests they leave Japan and reminds Rado to not trust Chloe. When they return to Rado's room, they meet a mature version of Shota along with his attendant Karen. It turns out that Shota was put into an aging machine to catch up with his actual age, and just like that, Shota changed dramatically. Shota and Karen join Rado to talk about the terror attack that happened recently. After that, Karen reunites Maria with her younger sister, Chifuyu. Not long after, Karen and Shota talk about Rado and Hino, and Karen informs him that Rado used to be a medical student, which explains his intelligence. Meanwhile, Rado calls Sue to talk about something in private, so they go inside the bathroom. With so many questionable things that happen, Rado convinces her to escape with him and find out the truth. When Sue asks him if he thinks she would not tell his plans to the UW, Rado says he trusts her without a doubt. However, Sue tells Rado that she cannot go and falls to her knees crying, revealing through her memory that she has been prepared at a young age solely for him. At that moment, Rado's resistance reached its limit and he was ready to develop a plot with Sue. However, Pope arrives and stops the plot from developing any further, and Rado along with Sue are placed under arrest. She reveals to Rado that he will be sent to America to keep him safe from danger, when all of a sudden Rado's attendants arrive to save him. Moments later, we see the headquarters have been alerted of what's happening. But Karen seems to have a plan of her own by making a deal with Chloe, in which she succeeded. Elsewhere, Rado is reunited with his sister Maharu, which they can't be happier about. Katagiri informs them of the escape plan and leads them to the ship that they will use to get away. Katagiri promises Rado that she will keep his brother safe while he's away. Before leaving, Rado thanks Sue and hugs her, telling her to stay safe, and promises he will come back for her. Moments later, Akane introduces Alyssa's accomplice to Rado, who reveals that they will meet Alyssa in Taiwan. Before long, Rado considers the possibility of Sue not being able to betray UW. Maharu then gives Rado a tablet that Hino uses to contact him. When Naniko asks if Hino wants to leave with Rado, he tells her that he can't abandon his children like the amazing father he is. Moments later, we see Shota taking an interest in a girl called Reina. Chloe, on the other hand, arrests Katagiri along with Sue for betraying the UW. Soon after, we see Karen giving Shota more options, and Reina is included. Elsewhere, Rado finally arrives in Taiwan, and by dark, he is finally reunited with the love of his life, Alyssa, and together they vow to save the world. This brings the anime to an end. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed, and turn on post notifications so you never miss out on any more of my videos. Until next time, take care.